My name is Moritz Müller and I'm back to teach you a new coin technique. It is based on the retention vanish, but it can be used to produce a coin, it can be used to vanish a coin, and it can be used to switch a coin. Retursion is not mechanically hard to do. Once you learn the mechanics, you will have an extremely powerful tool for your coin magic. Welcome to Retursion. Retursion is a move that is inspired by the retention vanishes, and you probably know that there have been countless variations of the retention vanish over the years, but this is something different. Retursion can be used to produce a coin, it can be used to vanish a coin, and it can be used to switch a coin, so it is very versatile and has a lot of applications. The move I devised relies on turning the coin into the palm rather than pulling it into the palm, and this really helps with getting rid of the finger motion that you traditionally see with retention vanishes. So I really hope you give it a try. Let's get into it. Before talking about the technique itself, I want to take a little bit of time and talk about the size of coin you should be using for this. I know that this is not a terribly exciting subject, but I do feel that this is important to execute the move correctly. Now, a lot of people use half dollars for coin magic, but I believe that you should use the biggest coin possible. So I use a Morgan dollar, even though I have very small hands and they barely fit in my hands and I can barely palm these, but I feel like this really makes my magic look better because people don't expect you to be able to hide a coin of this size in your fingers, which naturally makes the magic much more deceiving and much more magical. It also has the added benefit of being much more visual, so you can perform for bigger groups of people and they will all be able to see your coins much better. So I really believe that you should use the biggest coins you possibly can. And you should not worry about whether or not the coins you use can be used to pay in the country where you live, because I feel like using coins from other countries only shows that you care enough about your craft to use the best coins possible. Now this is especially important for the move that I'm going to teach you, which is called Retursion. Because when the coin is in finger palm, just like so, you want the fingertips of your index and middle finger to be as close to the coin as possible, for reasons you will see later. So now without any further ado, let's get into the technique. Hi, welcome to the method overview. In this chapter I'm going to tell you what happens during the move, and in a later chapter I will tell you about all of the specifics, about finger placement and all of these details, but this chapter is just here to give you an idea about what happens during the move. So with the retention vanish, the objective is to get the coin from the fingertips, right here, this position, into the finger palm, which is this position right here. Now, traditionally, you have the problem that the middle finger and the ring finger are actually in the way. So if you wanted to pull the coin into finger palm, which is involved in a lot of techniques for the retention vanish, you need to extend the fingers to get the fingers out of the way, pull the coin in, and then re-grip, which creates a lot of motion right here. And I want to get rid of that, so I discovered the method for retursion. As the name implies, it involves turning the coin into the palm just like so. Now, this has a lot of advantages because when you actually turn the coin with your thumb around the middle finger, just like so, you barely have any movement in the hand. Now, this technique can also be used as a production. So you can turn the coin into your hand, which looks something like this. And you can also turn it out, which looks something like this. Now, in both of these methods, the coin is rotated around the middle finger, just like so. And I will tell you about all of the specifics in another chapter. Welcome to chapter 4 about the giving hand. Now, the giving hand is the hand that executes the move. So turning the coin into the hand and turning the coin out of the hand. Now, traditionally it is recommended that the giving hand should be your dominant hand. However, I am right-handed and I do the move in my left hand. And I feel like this is much more natural for me. I recommend that you try it in both hands and figure out what works best for you. And I don't want you to be influenced by what I'm saying or by what other people or some books are saying. Because it should really feel natural for you. I think that it's pretty cool that you place the coin in your dominant hand to vanish it, because if you really think about it, that makes more sense. But I really think it's more about how natural it looks. And if it's more natural for you to do it from your dominant hand to your non-dominant hand, that's absolutely fine and you should do that. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the technique itself. So let's get into the in-depth explanation of the retursion move, both as a production and as a vanish. Now we will start with the production because the position you will end up in when you've completed the production is exactly the position you're going to need for when you want to do the vanish. And because the production starts in a position that should be very familiar, in finger palm, it will be better to learn it this way so that you learn the right positions right from the beginning. Now you will start in finger palm. To those who don't know, finger palm is of course holding the coin just between your ring finger and the palm of your hand, just like so. The middle finger and the index finger are used for cover, but they should not be involved in holding the coin itself. So if you use more than just the ring finger, you should probably adjust your grip. Should probably adjust your grip so that you only hold it with one finger, because that's very crucial when you want to minimize the tension in your hand. Now, to begin, the index finger of your giving hand will contact the rim of the coin that is in finger palm, just like so. Okay, it will only contact the very rim. Okay, now the thumb of the giving hand will contact the back of the coin right below where the index finger touches. Right there. Now the thumb and the index finger are going to pull the coin up and rotate it over the middle finger right here. So once again, contact with the index finger, contact with the thumb slightly below, and start rotating around the middle finger, just like so. Now, this might flash from the top, obviously. So what you want to do is tilt your hand back just slightly, which will also help with the momentum because you're sort of balancing the coin on the thumb. What you can also do is you can sort of let the coin rest on your thumb on the side of your thumb, just like so, which also helps to give a lot more cover from the front. So once you're in this position where you've began to rotate the coin around the middle finger with the thumb and the index finger, you can continue to roll, but now the point of rotation changes. It is no longer the middle finger, but it is now the index finger. And you will see if you continue rotating, now this also uses not only the thumb, but also a little bit of momentum. If you continue rotating, you will find that the coin no longer touches the middle finger right here. And you will continue doing that until the coin eventually hits the middle finger. And this is what allows the coin to stop so rapidly, and that is what causes the production to look so visual. So the coin stops immediately. And you should also try pressing down a little bit more with your index finger and your thumb just to really fix the coin in that position, because you wouldn't want to drop the coin as a production, as you produce the coin, because then it just looks like the coin fell out of your hand. Just like so. Now we will do this one more time, right from the starting position. The index finger touches the rim of the coin. The thumb touches slightly below, and the index finger and the thumb start rotating the coin around the middle finger. Now at this point, the point of rotation changes. It rotates around the index finger, right here. And now, as you continue rotating, it hits the middle finger. And now, as you press down with the thumb and the index finger, you achieve two things. One, the coin is absolutely fixed in this position and will not fall down, and the coin stops very rapidly, but also the coin is now so that the maximum surface is visible to your audience. So this also helps in making the production look much more visual. So these are the steps in producing the coin, but I want you to know that you should not be thinking about these steps as you're doing the production. These should only be used to understand the mechanics, and when you do it in real life, you should not think about this. It should just come natural. In fact, when I was preparing for this download, I actually had to think about what I'm doing precisely, because it was just second nature to me. This may sound very complicated, but I'm sure that if you practice these mechanics and practice in front of a mirror, so that you understand the mechanics as well as the angles, you'll be able to do it very fast, just like this. And one thing to keep in mind is that you want to minimize the flash from the because at some point the coin is going to flash because it's a production, obviously. But you want to keep the coin hidden for as long as possible, so that the production of the coin looks very visual, popping, and surprising. So as I said before, you can tilt your hand backwards slightly, but you can also not rotate the coin parallel to the fingers, but slightly beveled, which is achieved when you let the coin balance on the side of your thumb, just like so. So this is what it should look like up to speed. Alright, so this is the in-depth explanation for the vanish. So I told you before that I taught you the production first, because the position you end up in when doing the production is exactly the starting position for the vanish. And this is quite a complicated grip, and all of the fingers need to be at exactly the right position. But instead of explaining to you, you've just done it, so you should be in exactly the right position for you. So this is a position you're in, and for starting, it may be helpful for you to always do the production before doing the vanish, so that you always have the exact right starting position, because that may be one of the problems you encounter when trying the vanish. So you should try that before, but don't worry, when you've practiced it enough, you will be able to just do it, just put the coin into the right position without doing the production first. What you do with the vanish is pretty much the production in reverse, but there's actually a little bit fewer steps involved. It's a little bit more straightforward. So the coin is held between the thumb and the index finger, and the coin is just resting on the side of the middle finger right here. Now the index finger should be free to move away. That is quite important, and the coin should be, you should be able to balance the coin just between the middle finger and the thumb, right here. What you will do now is rotate the coin with the thumb around the middle finger, and you don't need the index finger. However, it can be on the surface and it will help a little bit with stabilization. So the coin is rotated inwards like this, just until it hits the pinky right down here. And from here, you can just curl down with your ring finger and you are in palm. We will do that again once more. So try doing the production first, that you're in the right position. The thumb on the back, the index finger on the front, and the middle finger beneath. Now you should be able to get the index finger off, just like so. Now the thumb pulls the coin and rotates it, turns it, around the middle finger, just like so. And the index finger can be used a little bit for stabilization, but you should be able to do it without the index finger as well. And when you're here, you can just palm the coin, like so. So I suggest trying to do the move slowly first and then speeding it up over time. There's no need to rush yourself when learning this, and you should try to do it slowly. And then after that you can speed up it, but it's very important to get the mechanics right first. I'm sure that you'll be able to do it. It's not that hard at all if you have the grip right. Welcome to chapter 5. In this chapter we're going to talk about the taking hand. So in other words, the hand that supposedly receives the coin. You may think that this hand doesn't play a big role because all of the technique is done in the giving hand, but I think that this is actually a big part of what makes a false transfer convincing. So let me just give you a bad example, and please do not copy this. But this is not good, because you can clearly see that this hand is closed way too tightly and there's no way to fit a coin of this size into this hand. So you really need to try it and really put a coin in your hand and see what your taking and receiving hand does. So what I do is this. This is a vanish I use, and there's a lot of thought that went into it. So when I place the coin into my hand, I do not fully close this hand, because I feel like it's more natural to have the hand slightly opened and not completely pressed down on the coin. And so the hand is slightly opened, but the palm of the hand is covered by the fingers, just like so. And after that, I now close my hand, pretend to bring the coin to the fingertips, and then I vanish it right here. So you should really try putting the coin in your hand and going through all of these steps it would take to make a coin vanish at your fingertips, just so you can do it more naturally. But what I think is by far most important is this little action right here. you can see how my hand just went down slightly as it was supposedly receiving the coin. And that is very important. When the coin goes into the hand, you should pretend to feel the weight in your taking hand. So when I supposedly put the coin into my hand, my wrist just does this. It just goes down a bit, as if feeling the weight of the coin in my hand. And I really think that this makes it much more believable. After that, I open my hand a little bit again and supposedly look at the coin on the palm of my hand. And this is also a great convincer you can use in your receiving hand. Of course, only if you're in the right environment to perform this, because this is obviously a lot more angle sensitive than having the coin, having the hand only slightly closed, or even having it fully closed. Now let's talk about some of the other subtleties that are used to make the vanish look more convincing. So I would like to first talk about the amount of movement the giving hand and the taking hand execute. So I think that both this and this is not good. I think that both hands should move a little bit, so that the giving hand starts a movement, the taking hand takes over, and finishes the movement, so that the movement of both hands combined is actually a straight line. And this helps in making it seem as if the important part to you is to move the coin from point A to point B, and not the transfer of the transfer of the coin from one hand to the other. It just seems like I want to take the coin and put it right here to make it vanish. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like the transfer of the coin from one hand to the other only seems like a tool to get from here to here, because this is a little bit awkward, right? So I think that that is very important, and you don't have to do it this exact way. You may find that you want the movement of the giving hand to be slightly more than that of the taking hand, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is just the way I like to do it, but of course you can look what feels more natural to you and do it that way. But just keep in mind that both hands should move a little bit, and it shouldn't be one hand taking the coin or one hand putting the coin. Another subtlety that is, I think, very important is the gaze. I've already talked about looking at the coin as if it is in your hand, even though it is not. And I think that that is really a great convincer. What you can also do is look at your audience as you do the move. Right? This is a very old form of misdirection and can be used to great effect. You may have noticed that in the trailer I did not do it, and that is because that was actually an advertisement for this download, where the technique is obviously a big and plays a big and important role. But in a live performance situation, you probably should look at your audience as you're doing the move. Now, it's important to keep in mind, however, that you should not look at your audience and wait for them to look up, because that can create sort of an awkward pause, but you should just trust that they are seeking your eye contact. It is also important that you do not only look at your hands all the time, and then as you do a fishy move, you look at your audience, because that will seem unnatural if you only do it once. So you should maintain a healthy eye contact with your audience, look at your hands for a little bit, and then maybe look at your audience again as you do the move. Now, another subtlety that is perhaps a little bit hard to explain actually comes from this amazing book right here, which is called The Magic Way, and it is written by Juan Tamariz, who is one of my favorite magicians. And this is actually one of my favorite books. There is one chapter in there where Tamariz talks about only vanishing a coin and all of the different solutions that spectators may have about how it could be done. And the magic way is actually sort of the journey to the magical effect, where the magician's objective is to cancel out every single method the spectator may have in their mind in order to arrive at the end of the magic way, where there's complete astonishment and the spectator is not able to figure out because all of the solutions inside of his head have been eliminated through various subtleties. Now, I've adopted one thing from this book, and not only one thing. It's a very useful book, and I think you should all read it. But one thing in particular that is very useful for this vanish is that you should not vanish the coin just like this. So you immediately opening the hand and revealing that the coin is gone. But you should instead wait a little bit. Just like so. Because that way, the audience is not really sure that the coin is really gone. They think, oh yeah, it looks like he's trying to make it vanish, it looks like he's rubbing it up, but it must be hidden in his hand still. Right? And the more your audience thinks about the possibility of that method, the more astonished they will be if that method they had in their head turned out to be wrong. And that is, I think, very important, so that the audience doesn't just go back to the last time they saw the coin, which is in your other hand, and immediately leads them to the solution. Another subtlety that is very important is timing. Now, a lot of people will tell you that you should just wait a little bit after you've done the transfer. However, I feel like this can be very awkward when you just hold the hand here and don't really know what to do with it. So I have decided to fill this time with some miming that I will show you right now. What I do is this: I do the false transfer, close my hand slightly, then I open my hand, look at the coin, blow on it. Now I close my hand and make the coin vanish. Now that way, the time that is needed for the spectator not to be able to reconstruct what happened right before is filled with something that is pretty useless, actually, when you think about it, for the actual actually making a coin vanish. But it does really, I think, convince the audience that a coin is still there, because the more time you spend with the coin right here, the more convinced your audience will be that the coin is actually in this hand. Because if you just place the coin right here, make it vanish, the audience will go back to the last time they saw the coin, which is in your other hand, and also leads right back to the method. So if you keep these subtleties in mind, I'm sure that you will be able to do a great false transfer. Now, another subtlety is the way your body is moving. So when you do a false transfer, not only your hands should move, but your body should as well. Now, right now, as I'm sitting here, most of my weight is on my right leg. If you're standing, that will just be the same, and it will be on your feet instead of your leg. Now, when I transfer the coin, my body weight shifts slightly, and most of my body weight is now on my right leg, exactly where the coin is supposed to be. And I think that is also a great convincer, because when you have something slightly heavy in your hand, you will naturally keep more of your weight on that side of your body. So that is also a small subtlety, but I think that it can make a big difference. Welcome to chapter 7. In this chapter, we're going to talk about some variations you can do on the vanish you've already learned and on the production you've already learned. So there's the pop production, there's the wave production, there's a cool convincer, and then there's a very nice shuttle pass. And in the end, I will teach you how to combine all of these techniques into one cohesive routine, which I call the 2-coin sequence. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the variation of the production I told you earlier. Because there's so little movement in the giving hand, you can do a lot of interesting things with the other hand. For example, this is the pop production. You can pretend to hold an invisible piece of nothing in your taking hand, bring it bring it right before the giving hand, and as you expand here, as you open your fingers here, you do the production out of the giving hand. So you just do this, which we've talked about earlier, but the taking hand does this. It squeezes something down, brings it towards the fingertips of the giving hand, and expands, just like so. Now you can also do this just like so, where you do a false transfer, squeeze it down, just like so. Now you do the get ready for the production in the giving hand, where you lay the index finger on the rim of the coin, bring it right to the fingertips of the giving hand, and now you produce as these fingers open. It just looks like you're pressing down on something, and as you let go, it expands. So welcome to the wave production. It is pretty similar to the pop production, which I taught you earlier, but instead of pinching down on something and having it expand, you just wave above the giving hand and do the production during that time, just like so. So what happens is you show this hand empty, your taking hand, cover the giving hand, now do the production. You can do it very slowly. In the prop production you have to do it very fast, but here you can do it as slow as you want, just like so. And I find it very helpful to go over the coin with my taking hand, and right as all of the coin is visible, I sort of make this little movement, which sort of implies that the production is done. It's sort of like drawing something and lifting up the pencil in the end. So welcome to another variation. I like to call this the convincer, and the purpose of it is the following. You have a hand that actually doesn't contain anything, but you're pretending to hold a coin. This is a situation that you will get into a lot of the time when you have 3 coins, but supposedly 4, and you want to make one of them vanish. You oftentimes dump out three of the coins, pretend to have one more, and then you vanish that. But Miguel Angel, a coin magician from Spain, actually does a routine where he has this and he is pretending to hold onto a coin, but then he doesn't simply vanish it like this, like a lot of coin magicians might, but he actually palms off one of the other 3 coins and then pretends to take the coin out of the hand, even though it was never in there in the first place, and then does a false transfer to make it vanish. He can then dump this on the other 2 coins and has 3 coins, just like there would be if he made one of them vanish. It is an absolutely amazing sequence, and when I developed this technique, I really wanted to do this with my technique as well. So the way you do it is this: you have the coin in the palm, and your taking hand is closed as if holding a coin. It is very important that there's a big opening right here, because that's where the coin is going to rotate into the hand. Now the giving hand goes toward the taking hand and does the production that we talked about earlier. While this is taking place, the hand is slowly opened, just like so. And now you can just do the normal vanish we talked about earlier. So this is what it looks like. You just go in, open these fingers, and if you need more room, you can always start to open the hand already, and then show the coin inside of the hand. So this is another variation, and it's actually a variation of the shuttle pass utilizing the techniques I taught you earlier. That means, of course, that you need 2 coins, because the shuttle pass, as you know, means switching out one coin for another in disguise of transferring it from one hand to the other. Now, you could, with the techniques I provided, of course, have the coin palmed in your taking hand, and then do the retursion vanish just as I taught you, and then you would have the coin switched out. That may even be better than what a lot of coin magicians are doing, but I think we can take this a bit further by making it a lot more natural. So you have 1 coin in the giving hand at the fingertips, and you have 1 coin palmed in the taking hand. You will now come over with the taking hand and the coin palmed, and cover the coin at the fingertips of the giving hand. Be careful that your thumb goes behind the coin at the fingertips of the giving hand. Now you will execute the retursion vanish and just let the coin turn into your hand just like so. But this is all happening under the cover of the taking hand. You will now pretend to take the coin at the fingertips of the giving hand with your taking hand, and then turn the hand so that this coin comes into view. I like to pair it with a little bit of a tossing action because it makes it, I think, seem even more natural. Okay, so this is a little sequence that uses some of the moves I taught you, and it is a 2-coin routine, so 2 coins appear and then vanish after. And this will only be a very brief explanation because most of the moves I use here you have already learned in other routines. So you start off with having 2 coins finger palmed in each of your hands. You will now produce the coin, just like I taught you, with the giving hand. You will now do the shuttle pass that I just taught you, to make it seem like you're transferring this coin to the other hand, just like so. And you may think it's stupid to switch out 2 identical coins, but this actually serves the purpose of showing both of your hands empty while transferring the coin. You will now do the exact same production again, and just like that, you have produced 2 coins. You will now make one of these coins vanish, and you will use the retursion vanish, but you are also holding a coin at the fingertips of your taking hand. So what you will do is you will open your hand while still holding 1 coin between the index finger and the thumb of your taking hand, and now do the exact same vanish, just like so. It's really the exact same thing, but the taking hand is in a slightly different position. You will now take the other coin off the fingertips right here, and now you can make this coin vanish with the subtleties we talked about earlier. So now you only have 1 coin left. But if you wanted to do a retursion vanish with this coin right here, it would of course clink against this one. So I transfer it to the classic palm. Now a lot of magicians would now get this coin, would now get the giving hand out of the frame and sort of do something like this where they just push it into their classic palm. However, I do not like this, and instead I do it in a gesture. So while looking at the coin in my taking hand, I simply open this hand, and while doing this, I actually get this coin from the finger palm into a classic palm position, just like so. Now that the coin is here in classic palm, I take the coin off the fingertips of my taking hand and place it at the fingertips of my giving hand. You will now do a retention vanish with this coin, but you've got to be very careful not to flash this coin right here, which might happen if you do it if you do a retursion vanish like I taught you. So instead, you will do the exact same mechanical movements, but instead of placing it into your hand like this, it will be a little bit more of a taking action, and you will take it at the fingertips of your taking hand and do the exact same things I taught you earlier, where you look at the coin, you do all of the subtleties that I taught you before, and now you can make this coin vanish. Welcome to chapter 8. In this chapter we're going to talk about how to practice the moves I've just taught you. And I think that a lot of people do the mistake of practicing a false transfer, and in their head they lose track of where the coin is supposed to be. And this can be seen in performance quite a lot, that people themselves, you can tell that they are not really sure where the coin is exactly supposed to be. The 3 techniques I'm going to give you for practicing the move are hopefully going to help you to keep track of where exactly the coin is supposed to be. Alright, so this is one of the ways you can practice the moves I just taught you. I call this particular method nothing, and that is because from the outside it looks like nothing is happening, even though you're practicing 2 pretty difficult moves. And this has 2 main benefits. One, it is just very fun to do hardcore techniques and make it look like nothing is happening at all. And another advantage is that you will not be looked at weirdly if you're in a public place practicing your coin moves, which can sometimes be a problem. So this is what it looks like. You place a coin in your hand, take it back out again. Place a coin in your hand, take it back out again. And you do this repeatedly for as long as you want. And all you're doing is actually the retursion move and the retursion vanish and the convincer I taught you a couple of chapters ago. So this is very interesting because, as I said, it looks like nothing is happening, but it really helps you practice these moves, and I hope that they will help you as much as they did me. Another method you can use for practicing these moves is called the jump. So it's nothing more than doing the retursion vanish and producing the coin next to it, and then opening your other hand to show that it no longer holds a coin. Now this helps you to not lose track of where the coin is supposed to be. So the coin is supposed to be in the hand you supposedly put it in, and until it is produced in the other hand and it is revealed that the coin has jumped. That's where the name comes from. So just by imagining exactly where the coin is supposed to be, I think you can really improve your miming abilities, because when you know exactly where the coin is supposed to be, you can obviously mime it better. I hope these techniques will help you. Okay, another method you can use for practicing, this is the last one, is to just do the retursion vanish, make the coin completely vanish, and then produce it. It's pretty much the same as the jump I taught you earlier, but this time the coin actually completely vanishes before you produce it somewhere else. So this is just sort of a little bit of a different timeline, and you and with this one you can practice the subtleties I taught you in an earlier chapter, and you can really practice all of the subtleties that I taught you, like shifting your body weight, twitching the hands slightly, and not revealing the vanish too early. And I hope this will also help you to master these moves. Welcome to the bonus. So I've decided to include a little bonus in this download, and that is a vanish that I originally published in my one coin routine, which you may have seen on Illusionist. It is a way of getting, it uses the back thumb palm, and I never really liked the way people traditionally get into back thumb palm, so I developed this technique to streamline this process a little bit, and I really hope you liked it. I improved a little bit from the way I did it in my one coin routine, but you will see that in a second. I hope you get a lot of use out of it. So I will just show it to you from the back, and then after that I will break it down into several steps. So this is what the vanish looks like from the back. Just like so. Now this obviously utilizes the back thumb palm, which is this position right here. And there are a lot of ways out there to get into it, but I didn't really like any of them, and they didn't really fit my personal style. So I decided to do it this way. The coin starts out by being held between the index finger and the thumb, and it is lightly resting on the middle finger right here. Now, as this hand comes over to supposedly take the coin, this hand does the following. The middle finger and the thumb rotate the coin slightly, because the middle finger goes outwards and the thumb moves to the left, just like so. Now at this point, this is all covered by this hand, by the way, and now the index finger and the middle finger release its grip on the coin, and the coin just rolls down the thumb, just like so. Now you should be careful that the coin does not fall into this hole right here, and you can help that by pressing the thumb as close to the hand as possible. Not only up here, but also at the right here. So this should all be as close to the fingers and the palm as possible. And the coin will just slide down the thumb right here. Now from this position, you want to get into a back thumb palm. But if you just press down right here, you would have a little flash right here. So instead of just pressing the thumb against the palm of the hand, on the side of the palm of the hand, just right here, you will first move forward, just like so, as far as you can, right here. And once you feel like you've done, it's close enough to the palm so that it would not be visible from the front, you can now push back, pushing the coin with it. And now the coin is in back thumb palm. Now you should be careful not to have the whole thumb resting against the side of the palm, but rather have the tip of the thumb slightly extended from the palm, so that there's this little hole right here, which just makes it seem like you're not holding anything. So in this position, the coin has been crumbled up in this hand right here into a little ball, and now it's going to be produced. Now this is the motion this will take place in. Now you first want to move towards the thumb and index finger of the taking hand, just like so. You will now grab it, and you should make sure that this is not a movement which is sort of interrupted by grabbing the coin here, but it should all feel like one smooth action, just like so. And you can really practice this, and after a while you will not stop here anymore, but it will just be one fluid motion. Now once you've grabbed the coin here, you will turn this hand, but you will still not reveal the coin. And there's a slight possibility of flashing here. So what I do to minimize that is I use the thumb. If the thumb is here, there's a bigger surface to cover the coin with than if it were like this. And as I turn, the thumb will move to the other side of the palm, from here to here. And this just gives the coin a little bit more cover. Now you will produce the coin. And what I used to do is this. But now I've changed it a little bit, inspired by the wave vanish I taught you earlier. So what I do now is basically the same choreography as the wave vanish. I go over here, and once the index finger no longer covers the coin, I do this. And as I said in the explanation for the wave vanish, this is sort of like finishing a drawing by lifting up the pencil, because you're finished with the production, just like so. Now let me walk you through it once again. The index finger, the middle finger extends as the thumb moves to the side. The taking hand pretends to take the coin, and that's the cover for this movement. Now the grip between the middle finger and the index finger will release, and the coin will slide down into the crotch of the thumb. Here you will push with the thumb as close to the palm as you possibly can, and now press the coin backwards just like so. Make sure to extend the tip of the thumb a little bit from the hand. Now you will crumble up the coin into little nothing and move over with the right hand, being careful that not to stop when loading the coin in the hand, turning the hand so that the coin is still covered, and then doing the same choreography as with the wave vanish. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. So you've reached the end of the download. These are just my final thoughts on the techniques I've just taught you, and I really hope that you liked what I told you. And I was really trying not only to teach you the method itself, but also some of the subtleties and some of the psychology behind it that really make it work. And I really hope that you got something out of it, either in the technique section or in the subtleties / theory parts, or both, hopefully. So if you have any questions still, you can contact me on Instagram. My Instagram profile will be right here. And I really hope that you liked it and you got something out of this. See you again.